One more crazy hand here, another double board bomb pot, this time $20 times 9 people. We have 10-3 offsuit in early position. Flop nothing on top, but we do flop bottom 2 pair on the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and lead out here. I bet $200. Player in the middle position jams all in. Player in late position jams all in. The button jams all in for less. And again, not a super ideal situation. Could be up against a better 2 pair or even a set on the bottom. Even a hand like King Jack is gonna have pretty good equity here versus us, if not be a favorite. I don't really know equities in these things, but anyway, I'm not folding. Again, didn't come all the way to Pompano Beach to fold bottom 2 pair. So we're all in 4 ways here. Middle position 1 has Jack 7. The late position player has Jack 7 as well. And the player on the button has Jack 9. So we're off to see a bunch of cards here. We end up with nothing on the top and we end up getting counterfeit on the bottom. It doesn't look too good, but it turns out we are gonna be not losing too much money. We end up quartering the Jack 7s and the Jack 9 scoops us, but he was a short stack. We lose some money to him, but it turns out not too bad overall. We end up losing maybe $150 or $200 at the end of the day. All right, that's a lot. It's hard to explain these double board bomb pots, especially 4 ways. The dealer did a great job of making sure the pots were right. We also had another dealer who was actually playing in the game, dealer from another casino, but that was very helpful. Chopping up a double board 4 ways, not an easy task, but they did it perfectly. All right, moving on to table 2. This is a lovely spot to go over some hand histories. Nice and quiet out here, some fresh air. All right, over on the second table now, looking down at 10-8 of hearts from early position. Normally maybe a little bit loose, but meetup game very much well within the range. So go ahead and raise it up to $20 and we see 3 callers. Flop comes 8-4-4 with 2 spades. There's a check out of the blinds. I'm gonna go ahead and put in a bet here of $40. Can charge some draws here and can also provide for some equity denial. So kind of a multi-purpose bet there. Folds around to either the small blind or big blind, can't quite remember, but he puts in a check raise. Pretty decent size raise, makes it $155 to go. Not in love with this spot, but there's plenty of draws available and we have a pair. So he's basically repping a 4 and nothing else. I'm gonna go ahead and see the turn here, which is an offsuit 10. So interesting card where we are now beating hands like ace 8, but we're still losing to a 4, of course, as well as maybe a slow played hand such as pocket jacks pre-flop. Is that possible? I'm not too sure. Either way, he doesn't stop betting. He bets $280. And again, since we're still beating a very small sliver of a value range, such as ace 8, maybe some other 8s as well, plus some draws available, I'm gonna go ahead and make the call and see what happens on the river, even though we're not super deep at the moment. Probably only about $300 going into the river. River's an offsuit 5 and he checks it over to me. I'm just gonna go ahead and show this hand down. I'm not too sure what I can get value from unless it's a sticky sort of non-believing 8 on that flop. But I just decided to play it safe and check it back, and he says he has a 5. So that's good news. We'll go ahead and show, and he mucks his hand and later says that he had 6-5 of spades. One interesting hand that went down. Double board bomb pot once again. These things are session defining. 15 or 20, I think $15 a person over here on table 4. I'm looking down at 9-7 of diamonds. So I think these are the kinds of hands that you kind of want in these double board bomb pots. Some possible connection, suited of course helps, and then just something that can connect on 2 boards. You know, when you flop a set with the, what do you call it, a pocket pair, it's usually gonna be tough to flop 2 sets. So here we are, 9-7 of diamonds, heading into a double board bomb pot 9 ways, in which we flop trips on the top board and absolutely nothing on the second board. Action checks to me and I bet $60, 60 or 65. We see 2 calls. On the top board, nothing changes, and on the bottom board, it's another queen. There's a check before me and I check as well, and the player on my left bets out this time for $150. The player before me calls. So interesting spot here where it can probably seem likely that one of the players has a 9 and the other player probably has quads here, because I don't think there's going to be too much drawing happening on either of these boards. There's probably going to be some solid connections. The 7 kicker in our hand, kind of halfway there, you know. We're losing to some hands. We can improve though, and on the second board we have absolutely nothing. Reasonable size bet though, so I make the call. We're off to see the river cards. Again, nothing changes on the top board. It's another low card, so the 7 kicker is possibly in play here. On the bottom board, it's another 6. Action checks to the last player, who bets $215 all in. The player before me asks for a count, and then he kind of shrugs and tosses in a chip. So it still seems like the same situation. Player on my left, I think, has quads. Player on my right, I think, probably has a 9. I think he has quads. I think you have a 9. But I think you have probably a better 9. I can beat 9-6, 9-5, 9-3. The question is, what is this kicker? We could be either getting quartered, or we could be getting half of this pot here. With the price being so cheap, we need to see, I think, for that price, see what's going on here. This player, since he didn't show any aggression, you know, maybe with a better kicker, he would have showed more aggression earlier on in the hand. I don't know. Again, not a double board bomb pot expert by any stretch. So I toss in the call here. Let's see what we're up against. And as predicted, the player on my left shows ace queen for quads on the bottom. The player on my right shows 9-7 as well. So not a great situation. We're getting quartered here. It's a dream situation for the ace queen because he just has to keep putting money in there with quads versus 2 players that have trips. So that's easy for that hand. Not so easy for our hand. Maybe could get away from it, but for these bet sizes, I think it's kind of just a situation where not ideal, but probably can't get away from it either. I don't know, maybe you can make a case for getting away from it. I'm not too sure. Anyway, we're stuck here. We're stuck in this meetup game, down about $700 at this point. So getting play for a couple more tables at least, see what happens. Maybe we can plot back, find some run good in a double board bomb pot. That'd be nice. Alright guys, just about to wrap here over here at the Isle Casino. Not without a few more hands of note to get on record here. In the first one at the new table, I think table number 5, if I have not lost count yet. Haven't had too many beers, I've only had 2 beers so far. Very first hand that I sit down at, there's a raise from under the gun to $20, a few callers, and we look down at ace king offsuit in the big blind. Doesn't get too much more of a premier squeeze spot than this one, so I go ahead and 3-bet it up to $130. The under the gun player thinks for a little while, shrugs, and then ships the chips in there, folds back to us for $250. It's a trivial call, so we are off to the races versus pocket 10s. Not sure how great of a spot it is, considering that there was a bunch of callers in between us. Maybe some of those players held aces, but we're off to C5 cards, and the flop is no good, the turn is no good, but the Barry Greenstein on the river, the ace on the river, is good for us. So
ship it, buddy. You're gone. Goodbye.
we find some run good finally. Shortly after that, it's time for a bomb pot, and this table is playing a lot of bomb pots. Every time there's an ace on the flop, the next hand is a bomb pot. Anytime there's 2 aces on a flop, that's a double board bomb pot the next hand. And if there's an ace in the bomb pot hand on the flop, then that's just another bomb pot immediately after that one. So this table, pretty fun table, playing lots of these bomb pots, and this is one of them. We're looking at a king 5 offsuit, $10, 9 ways. We flop ourselves trips and turn a full house, and we get decent value, all 3 streets versus ace high. Shortly after that, it's another bomb pot for $10 each again, and we are looking down at 9-6 of clubs this time, in which we flopped an open-ended straight flush draw, but the board is paired, so 8-8-7, open-ended straight flush draw. I'm going to try and represent that 8, but obviously I have some backup plans if I happen to get called here. So I bet $45 here, and I see 2 callers, so chances are we're up against at least 1-8, possibly 2. The good news is that we make a flush right away on the turn. It's a jack of clubs. Interesting though is that the small blind leads right out. He bets $125. Don't think there's any option that makes as much sense as flat calling here, so that's what I do, and the other player folds. The river's an offsuit 9, and he leads out again, this time for $200. So I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. Still have, you know, same hand strength, immediate hand strength as we do on the turn. Just going to be a pretty straightforward call here. We block some full houses here with the 9 on the river. We're going to be losing sometimes, of course, but we have ourselves a flush. We prefer a straight flush, but we just have to settle for a flush. I'm going to go ahead and call here, and It turns out we're up against the king high flush. King deuce of clubs doesn't work out for us in this bomb pot. Right back down as soon as we start making some traction here at the meetup game, just get whacked into a bad situation in another bomb pot. I switched tables shortly after that, and in this next hand, there's an early position player who makes it $20 to go. I call with 10-8 of diamonds in the low jack position. The player on the button calls as well, so we're heading 3 ways to a flop, which comes queen, 8, 5, rainbow, but with 1 diamond. Early position player checks. I just go ahead and check here with middle pair, good showdown value, and the player on the button does not check. He bets $50. The initial raiser folds, pretty straightforward call here. Turn is a 6 of diamonds, so we do pick up the backdoor flush draw. Check it again to the button, we this time bet $75. So he's giving us a great price. I don't think there's any thought that's gonna go into this flat call here once again. We are off to the river card heads up, which is an offsuit 10. Since he bets so small on the turn, it seems to me that he's probably going to have top pair a decent amount of time, but not a great kicker. Seems like he would probably protect his hand a little bit more if he had a stronger hand. If he was really that proud of his hand, it feels like he might bet a little bit stronger. So I'm definitely going to value bet here. I don't want the action to just go check check. I'm going to size down a little bit compared to what I might bet in some other instances. So I bet $110. Could maybe even go a little bit smaller, especially after he just snap folds, which is really surprising. I'm wondering at the time, how does he just know automatically that a 1 pair hand, which I assumed he had, is no good. But later on I heard him say that he actually had pocket 7s. So it makes some sense. Maybe he is betting the flop for some equity denial and picks up an open-ended straight draw on the turn. Does not materialize, and he's left with a very mediocre holding there on the river. So it would have just gone check check. Not going to be too much that I can do. Maybe I can bet $5 on the river. Maybe I can bet $15. Maybe there's some number that he calls, but it's not 110. Really happy with the way I played in hands that were not bomb pots in the actual poker. The bomb pots were just a total disaster for me. I definitely am a massive loser in the bomb pots tonight, and that is going to be the difference maker for me tonight. Get into the game for $1,600. Cash out the game for $820, I think. Yeah. $820. That means we lose $780 here at the meetup game tonight.